Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video we have this question, so we'll try to solve this question. So the question is, so you have a string here. Now the string is such that it only contains the open brackets and the closing brackets. Okay, so these are some of the example of the string. As you can see, it only contains the braces, so you can say the open brackets and the closing brackets are only there. Now you have to find out if all the brackets that we are opening, all the opening brackets would be closed. Okay, and also the opening brackets should be closed in the correct order. So what I mean by that, it is like, just see this example. You can see we have this string, so we have this open bracket and this another open bracket and then another open bracket, and then we are closing the bracket one by one in the same sequence. Okay, if you see for this string also, you can see we are opening it, then we are opening it, and then we are closing it in the correct way, and then we are opening it and just closing it. But for the last one, you can see we are opening it, we are opening it, we are opening it, then the first bracket is closing, and then you can see this third bracket, this is not being closed. Okay, so since this is not being closed, so this is not a valid string. Okay, so this string will not match our criteria. Okay, so this is how we will do it. So we have to check all the all the brackets that we are opening, so all the brackets should be closed, and that too in the correct order. So to explain the problem in a better way, we have some diagram here. Okay, we have some string here, right? Now if you compare the first string, you can see we have this bracket is being closed here, opening here, this is opening, this is opening, and since this is the last opening bracket, so this is been closed first. Okay, and similarly this is the second opening, so it is closed here. Now this is the first opening, so this is being closed at the very last. So this is matching our criteria, so we'll mark it as true. And what about the second one? If you just see here, this has been opening here, this is opening here, so this is the first, this is the the last opening bracket, so this will be closed first, which is doing here, and this is the last opening, so it is closing here. And if we move on here, so this is the first opening bracket and this is being closed. Similarly, this is also matching, so it will return true. But if we talk about the last one, you can see this is the first opening, this is the second opening, and this is the third opening. So this is, we can say, this is the last opening bracket that we have encountered, and this is being closed at the first position. That's correct. And this is the second last opening bracket. But if we see here, this is not being closed. Okay, so if you see, this bracket is not being closed, so here it should have been actually this, but it's not like that, it is instead this. So this is violating our criteria, so this is not a valid balance parenthesis string, so we'll return false from here. So this is the logic, this is the problem statement that we have to fix. So we have to think about how we can solve this problem. Okay, in order to solve this problem, what we can do, we can use one approach. We will create a stack that will contain, and in that stack we will store the open brackets. Okay, so we will loop through this string, and whatever open brackets that we are seeing, we'll keep them storing in in this open bracket stack. Okay, so for example, for example, if we just go by one, for the first string we'll store this one first, and then we'll store this one, then we'll store this one, and when we come to here, this part, this bracket, then we are seeing, okay, this is a closing bracket, this is not a opening bracket, so we will not be storing it here. And as soon as we encounter a closing bracket, what we will do, we will check what is the last encountered open bracket that we have seen. So whatever the last encountered open bracket that we had seen, so the first closing bracket will be just corresponding bracket of them. So what I mean by that, so this is the first closing bracket, and since we are getting a closing bracket, we will try to see what is the last opening bracket that we have seen. So this will be this, so these two will be matching, right? This will be like opposite opening and closing bracket. So that is the logic that we will follow. Okay, and since we have encountered this, so we will see that, okay, this is matching with the last opening bracket, which is this one, so these two are matching. So what we will do, we will remove this opening bracket from this array, okay, from this stack. So we'll remove it, and we have already encountered this, so now we encounter this one. So this is again another closing bracket. So since we are again getting another close bracket, so we have to just follow the same logic. What we will do, we will check what is the last encounter opening bracket. Okay, so at this point you can see, since we have already removed one item from here, so for our case the last encounter opening bracket is, as of now, it is this. So this and these are matching, so yeah, it is fine then. So we will just remove that. So this is also, valid, like this part is valid. Now we have to see for the last part. Okay, so this is another a closing bracket, so we will see what is the last encountered opening bracket. So this is this one. So these two are also matching, so then that is fine, the entire, the string is valid. Okay, and the same logic we can apply it here, and the same logic we can apply it here also. So for the last one, I will just explain the logic. I will try to simulate the logic for the last one. So for the last one, first we are encountering this, then we are encountering this, and then we are encountering this, and then we are encountering this part, this symbol, this bracket. Now we are encountering this bracket, and this is a closing symbol, this is a closing bracket. So what we will do, we will repeat the same logic. What we will do, we will check what is the last opening bracket that we had encountered. So for our case, the last encounter opening bracket is this one. From the array we can check, this is this one. Okay, the last one, this one, and we can see, okay, these two are matching, these two are opening and closing, so that's fine. We will remove this from here, and this item is, like, this bracket is verified. Now we are seeing this bracket, this is another closing bracket, and we'll repeat the same logic. We'll see what is the last opening bracket that we had. We are seeing the last opening bracket that we had, that is the third bracket, but here the closing bracket is the first bracket, so these two are not matching. So actually this was supposed to be actually this bracket, but this is not the case. So since it is violating our criteria, so we will return false. Okay, so we will understand that, okay, this string, this string is not following our rule, this is not actually closing the bracket in the order that we expected, so this string should be returning false. So that is the logic that we will follow here. So in order to start, we have this function. We are giving a name at isBalance. Let me give it a name at isBalance brackets. And it is taking a string as input, and then it will write the code here. So in order to start, we will have some constant variable here. So you can see we have some constant variable. So we have an array that will store all the opening brackets, and we have another array that will contain all the closing bracket. And at the end, we have a map that will tell us what is the opening bracket, like what is the corresponding closing bracket for a opening bracket. Okay, so for the first bracket, the closing bracket is like this, and for the second one and the third one. So from the array, we can look up and we can understand, okay, for this specific open bracket, this is the closing bracket. Okay, so now we'll start. So at first, we'll create a variable called open brackets, and that will be an array. So this is the stack that we are talking about. We will store all the opening brackets here. So now we will loop through the string characters one by one. And what we will do, we will check if the current character is a opening bracket or not. So if it is opening bracket, so if it is a opening bracket, then we will just store that item into this array. Okay, just like that. And in the else if block, we will write the condition for if it is a closing bracket. Okay, so we'll write the condition if it is a closing bracket. So we will check if it is a if the current character it's a closing bracket, and so whatever the last opening bracket that we had seen, so this closing bracket should actually be the corresponding closing bracket for the last opening bracket that we had encountered. Okay, so we'll just write the logic now here. So this bracket should be equal to the, so to get the last opening bracket, we'll use the open brackets array, and we'll pop it. Okay, so this part, this open brackets dot pop, this will give us the last encountered opening bracket, and current closing bracket will be the opposite of the last encounter opening bracket. Okay, so we'll take this and search it in the map. Okay, So what this part does is that at this point we have character, this is a closing character, and this closing character, it should match with the last opening bracket that we had. Okay, it should be opposite to that. So what these conditions means is that the character that we are currently in, that is a closing character, that is a closing bracket, and we will check whatever the last opening bracket that we have encountered. So these two will be corresponding, like these two are alternative, like these two will be like key value pair from this array, okay, from this object. Okay, so that is the logic we have written here. So this is the ideal condition, but if it does not match the condition, we will return false, because we have seen such a closing character, closing bracket, that is not the uh, that is not the corresponding closing bracket for the last encounter opening bracket. So that is the logic we are writing here. So we will return false here, and at the end we will just return if the bracket length, if this array length is 0 or not. Okay, is dot length 0 or not. So if everything is fine, all the all the brackets have corresponding opening and closing bracket, so this will be actually empty since we are removing one by one. So if all the opening brackets has the corresponding closing bracket, so this part, this array, it will be empty at the end. But if it's not the case, then we'll return false. So that is the overall logic that we have. Now we will try to run this function. We have got some inputs, and let's try to run it. And if we refresh the screen, you can see it is giving false, true, true. So it is matching the expected output. Okay, so for the first string we can see it is returning false, because this specific character, this is not actually being closed, and for the rest of the things everything is being closed properly. So that is the logic that you can write. So that's how you can implement the logic of to find if any string has a properly opening and the closing bracket pair or not. So this is actually the trickier part of this logic. Just go through this logic once again, and like you can also write down the code by yourself, and you can understand that if you just try to debug the code step by step, you will understand like what this part does. Okay, so I hope this video was useful. If you still have any doubts, then you can definitely put them in the comments. Any suggestions or any ideas, definitely feel free to comment down below. And as always, thanks for watching and happy coding.